Hi, everyone. I'm Patty Madigan. I work for the Mendocino County Resource Conservation District. Resource Conservation District started out of the Dust Bowl era, and we are both a local public agency and a state agency. That hybrid makes it easy for us to partner with other state agencies, and being local means that we are governed by voluntary board of directors. Currently, we have the ability to have 5 directors. So we're not a nonprofit, but we are a non-taxable local public agency. And we work very closely with USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, which kind of is an awkward partnership when it comes to cannabis. So we have stepped outside of perhaps our traditional role with NRCS and have taken kind of a leadership role. Our RCD was the first to come out with a guidance document for best management practices. We have that available both in English and in Spanish. It's been very widely distributed. I didn't develop this, but I helped develop some funding to make it happen, thanks to CARCD. With funding from the Resources Legacy Fund and the Campbell Foundation, we were able to update and translate the update into Spanish. And so that's available through us. You can download it off our website. I've been with the RCD for 20 years, only been working on cannabis for about 5 years. And in that role, our board has directed us to mostly work on outreach and education. So although I did go to a cannabis farm to help film the video that you'll see a little bit later, I have not actually done a lot of direct hands-on work with cannabis farmers, although I know a ton of them. I live in a cannabis community, in the sense that more people in where I live grow than don't. So I do feel like on a community level, I'm very familiar with some of the challenges out there. And as a member of the RCD community, I'm hopefully going to help develop some solutions. So,
Patty, can you tell us a little bit about the video that we're about to watch?
Okay. Well, the video you're about to watch, with CARCD's funding, and CARCD is a nonprofit organization, which is an association of RCDs within the state of California. There are about 90 or 99. I'm not sure how many still exist. And every RCD is a little different according to what their agriculture and land use practices are. And so with their assistance and support, rather than put on yet another workshop that might be sparsely attended, we decided to do a video. And so we basically took the contents of the Best Management Practices Guide and kind of distilled it down into this 8-minute video, working with a local farmer named Casey O'Neill, who's been very active in the local Cannabis Alliance and is, I would say a community leader in cannabis. And so we were thrilled to have him join us for the video. The videographer happened to be his cousin, so we had some stock film too, which was very helpful because we went out in the fall.
Hi, Casey. Thanks for having us out here at Happy Day Farms.
Definitely.
It's really a beautiful day. We are going to be talking about best management practices for watershed health for cannabis farms and the small rural gardeners. And so we're going to be going through and talking about natural resources and how we can conserve and protect and restore the natural processes in the landscape.
That, I think, is one of the things that's important about best management practices. These are things that are good for the land, good for the people, good for the bottom line. And so if you're following these practices, you're going to be less wasteful, you're going to have more money coming in because you're utilizing the resources to the best of the abilities. And I think it's really important, this conversation around best management practices, this sort of collective dialogue around like what are the most helpful ways to participate in the ecology of the farm and have a thriving both ecosystem and viable farming operation. And I think the Resource Conservation District work on this booklet has been phenomenal. It really opened the conversation and provided kind of a roadmap. And so you can get a copy of the booklet, you can find it online, you can download it. That we have hard copies available from the Resource Conservation District, and it really does provide, you know, a reference guide, a roadmap, a way to like look at your practices. And it's not about, you know, it's not about like, oh, it's about trying to figure out how do I do things better on my farm? How do I access the collective wisdom to be able to engage in an agriculture that is more ecologically sound? Best management practices around water: minimizing your use. So drip irrigation, mulch, flow meters, monitoring, paying attention and making sure that you're watching your garden, so you're monitoring your water use.
So tell us about your water system and how you manage water for best management practices.
So we have a rainwater collection pond that's at the bottom of the property. There are submersible pumps mounted in the pond that are direct drive from the solar panels, so no fossil fuels in the water distribution system. The pumps in the pond push to tanks up on high and then gravity feed back down, and then we use solar powered timers to run the crops so that we're irrigating through drip irrigation, managing the water. We run a water meter to make sure we can see how much water we're using each day. If there's a problem, if there's a leak, you see a jump in the amount of the volume of water that went through. So we're tracking our usage, and we are minimizing as much as possible while still trying to maintain maximum crop health and vitality. And so it's always kind of a balance, you know, especially up here on the ridgeline. A lot of very dry, desiccating breezes, very hot, no dew in the evenings, no, you know, humidity does not rise much at night, so it's very, very dry environment. And so we use a lot of water, and we really want to make sure to target that water exactly where we want it to be. Use a lot of mulch so that the drip is underneath the mulch, so you're conserving that moisture, not having it evaporate either from the sun or from the wind. BMPs around erosion. You want to slow water down. Anywhere that it's concentrating, you want to make sure that you're clearing the sediment out of it. You want to make sure that soil is not leaving your property and it's staying where you want it to be. Lots of mulch, lots of cover crop, lots of making sure that the water is filtered before it enters the streams.
So the Mendocino County Resource Conservation District, along with Pacific Watershed Associates, has a great resource. It's the Handbook for Forest, Ranch, and Rural Roads. And this is the Bible, really, for all landowners to learn more about progressive road design and storm-proofing their roads.
Yep. And I think that's exactly the articulation of best management practices, in which designing your road and maintaining your road in a way that follows these best management practices is going to save you money, because you're not going to be buying more gravel, you're not going to be having to redo the road. And so it's this idea of accenting the way we do things so that we're not wasting money, we're not wasting resources, and we're having a strong and healthy ecology around us. BMPs around soil health: building living soil, always. Compost, nutrients, making sure that you're keeping the soil covered, that you're growing lots of different crops, maintaining biodiversity, lots of cover crops, making sure that you're sopping up leftover nutrients so they're not entering the environment in the winter. These are our cannabis terraces, and so we've harvested the plants, we've cut the stumps down, we left the stumps in to break down over the winter, that way we don't disturb the soil profile. You can kind of see a difference between these different terraces, in which this one over here has a lot more straw and a lot more bare spaces. The cover crop has been sown in there, and it'll grow up through that mulch and create a nice green cover crop layer that'll prevent erosion and soak up any leftover nutrients. BMPs around fertilizers and pest control: you want integrated pest management, broad biodiversity, you want strong, healthy crops, you want to cull weak plants so that you avoid infestations. When you have infestations, you want to start at the lowest level possible use of pesticides so that you're maintaining a healthy and productive environment without utilizing heavy pesticides. We don't want poisons in our products. Pesticides are things that, by definition, are agricultural chemicals used specifically in agriculture, so you know, treat it professionally. Don't leave them sitting out. Don't have them in unmarked bottles. Focus on plant health. You know, pesticides should always be a last resort. Have a integrated pest management and IPM program so that you're minimizing your pest problems. There are things that can be used that are more benign, and there are things that can be used that are more detrimental and heavier poisons. And so I think always starting at the lowest end that you possibly can and staying there rather than moving towards some of these heavy duty pesticides. And in cannabis cultivation, most of that is not allowed, and which, you know, A, it's not allowed, so don't do it, but B, I think it's a really important and powerful example for the rest of agriculture. Like, actually, poisons on food are not cool. And so trying to figure out how to change this conversation about how we grow things. And you know, as a farmer, I have pests. You know, those you end up, you know, this year was the classic aphids was the big thing. And so I think a monocrop cannabis farm is as unsustainable as a monocrop corn, wheat, or soybean farm. I think that nature creates biodiversity for a reason, and that as farmers, we need to be building that into our plan. BMPs around solid and human waste is you want to make sure that it's not interacting with the environment in a way that it can contaminate it. So you never want human waste exposed to groundwater. So you need to have a permitted septic, and if you have a composting toilet, you want it to be contained so that there is no opportunity for the human waste to interact with the environment. Solid waste, you know, trash, plastic, glass, etc. It's the old reduce, reuse, recycle. You want to make sure to get as much use out of your resources as possible. So in general, try to maintain as much of a clean site as possible, and, you know, keep your resource piles contained, and when it's trash, take it to the dump.